instructing them as follows: do not turn your steps to pagan territory, and do not enter any Samaritan town. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, proclaim that the kingdom of heaven is close at hand. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out devils. You receive without charge, give without charge. The Gospel of the Lord. Jesus looked at the crowds and his heart was moved. The Greek word Matthew uses implies a compassion that physically moves Jesus. Jesus sees something in the crowd that triggers a strong emotional feeling within him. A feeling felt only by someone who genuinely loves. He sees people who are troubled and abandoned, like sheep without a shepherd. People who seem lost because no one has gone to find them, no one stood with them and walked with them. And everything in today's readings is an answer to that particular look. We begin at the foot of Sinai. Moses goes up to God and God speaks. But before God asks anything of Israel, before any covenant obligation, he reminds them of what he has already done. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. So the rescue from Egypt comes before the relationship is made official. He saves first, and the invitation to belong follows freely from that act of grace. This is how divine love works. It goes before, it anticipates any merit. And in our second reading, Paul reflects on this same love. God proves his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. I remember a conversation I had with a friend some years ago. I remember him saying that we as humans are simply selfish beings. Whatever good we do, he argued, we always receive something in return. Maybe a thank you, more love, a gift. At the very least, that warm feeling of having done something worthwhile. So therefore, his conclusion was that no act is ever purely selfless. And in a way, I knew that he was not entirely wrong. And that troubled me. As Salesians, we work with young people, and asking them to do something is often followed by, but what will you give me for it? What will I get in return? How much are you ready to pay me for it? And let's be honest, let's not simply point our fingers to our young people. We all know that at times we as mature adults do this too. We can immediately tell when someone is giving with an eye on what is in it for them, when love is not freely offered, when it is simply an exchange to be settled. In such cases, then, when no love is returned, the giving stops, or even worse, it sours. Back to my friend's claim, I could not let go of it. And following another discussion, we realized that what we need to look further into is that which launches us, the motivation that leads us to act before any return is even possible. That first movement towards someone who cannot yet give us anything back, or may never give us anything back in return at all. God's love is that pure first step, taken before anything else. And it is that first step that we are asked to imitate. This brings us back to Matthew and Jesus' gaze. Jesus looks at the crowds and asks his disciples to see what he sees, and to then act from that seeing based on one single slogan: without cost you have received, and without cost you are to give. What they carry to others is not their own achievement. It is the love they themselves first received, freely, while they were still helpless, and it is now to be passed on with the same freedom with which it came. This is the only logic that makes a life of service sustainable in the long run. Not I give because I am generous, not I give because it makes me feel worthy, but I give because I have been given to, beyond all measure, beyond all merit, and I cannot keep to myself what was never kept back from me. And where do I do this? Do not go into pagan territory or enter a Samaritan town. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. There is always a Samaria we would rather go to. That distant cause, that saving mission, that far-off project. And while they are fully noble, much needed and admired, they might cost us less because they do not require us to change how we live with the people right in front of us. It might seem easier to dream of the harvest on the other side of the world than to kneel down beside the lost sheep in our own house, in our own street, in our own community. The ones whose faces we already know, and whose needs we therefore cannot pretend not to have noticed. And how do I do this? Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, drive out demons. Every verb mentioned here is physical. It is a verb that leads to action. Pope Leo, when addressing the priests last Friday, names the same movement as he speaks of priestly holiness. Holiness is embodied in humble and courageous nearness, in keeping the gate of the sheepfold open so that many can enter and find pasture and rest. Therefore, the world needs lay people, priests, and religious who are living witnesses to a reconciled heart. 2000 years on, the mission is unchanged. Words not carried by deeds are in the end only noise. The good news travels on hands, not only on lips.